Hi, this is Aquarian Anarchy, and this is Marcus Pulis and Chad Lemoine. It's been a couple weeks since we talked, but before I get into that, why don't you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the share, hit the subscribe, comment, do all that craziness. Go check out my store, get a shirt, get a tapestry, get another shirt, all those sorts of things, and give us some love. Been an interesting couple weeks. Most people that have paid attention to this channel and to our conversations know that both Chad and I work for Adam Kokesh, who was running for the Libertarian nomination for President of the United States. Well, this past weekend, the Libertarian Party had a convention. Both Chad and I were delegates, and they elected Joe Jorgensen. So I want to dive in to both Chad and I's diverting opinions on a few things and get to telling you kind of what happened. The first thing I want to say is that this is from me. There is no Kokesh campaign anymore. Adam cannot be held responsible for me saying this shit because I am not officially shit anymore.
Like the Ross and Rachel, we were on a break.
right. We are totally on a break. And but what I have to say may be offensive to a lot of people. And I wore this shirt on purpose. It says I'm a libertarian-leaning anarchist. I'm here because I see by here I mean within the Libertarian Party. I'm involved in the party because I see a possibility for a peaceful way to transition to a stateless society. And I get agorism. I practice agorism. For those of you that don't know, that is counter economics, doing things like not doing everything you can to not feed the beast, to not pay taxes, to live off grid if you can, all those kinds of things. I do a lot of that stuff myself. I own Bitcoin. I grow a garden, all those kinds of things. But I think that that's going to be ineffective because I think Adam is absolutely right when he says that, you know, it was like 3% of the population it was 5% that ratified the first United States government. And I think that they will easily get well over 5% of the government that voted for every time, no matter what. That's going to happen. So I don't think it's effective. But I do think that if you remove the illusion of consent, Spooner talked about that the government lives on an assumed consent of the governed, that we give them permission to exist. And this consent of the governed is actually an illusion. He gets into it deeply, but I'm not going to. But I think that if you elect somebody who is trying to dissolve the federal government, as an example, then you can get past it. There's also a lot to be said about weakening government as much as you can. Well, what was proven to me in the absolute shit show that was this past weekend is that the likelihood that the Libertarian Party has enough fucking organization to get that done is somewhere between -50 and 0. They are never going to get that done. Why am I involved in the Libertarian Party? Why is there a possibility I show up in Orlando? Really small possibility. But why? Because I'm converting people into voluntarists. My goal is to take people that are on the road to being a voluntarist, libertarians, and make them a voluntarist so that when we get to what Rothbard would have talked about, when he said that when you remove the illusion of consent of the governed, and I'm paraphrasing, then they will pass away just like any other criminal gang. And so the more we can get people doing that, the better. And people will buy the legitimacy of it. But again, The Libertarian Party has zero chance of making that happen because they can't get 1,000 people to do anything about the state. I was completely sickened by the fact that Judge Jim Gray, who is an absolute statist, got around 50 more votes than Adam did in the first ballot. It sickens me. It turns my stomach. And because I'm telling you right now, and this is never going to happen for those of you that might go, oh, he's becoming a Republican. I will say this very clearly. I am more likely to vote for fucking Donald Trump than Judge Jim Gray. He can go fuck himself. That will never happen. Also, I come out of this weekend thinking, why am I here? These people hate me. Because, so why am I here? And, let's go vote for Jo Jorgensen, who's a statist. She may not be as bad as Jim Gray or Donald Trump. I'll grant you that. She's not as bad. But I don't vote for bad. I don't vote for masters. I don't believe in them. I'm not going to vote for her. I'm not going to oppose her. I'm not going to go out and spread shit about her. I'm not going to do that. But I'm also not going to vote for her. You might say, but doesn't it politically serve your interests to vote for her and strengthen the party? Well, if she gets 2% of the electorate to vote for her, I will be shocked. I'm not going to eat my dick like John McAfee swore to do, but I tell you what,
we got about 6 months left for
right.
For Bitcoin to hit 500,000 or whatever it is, or a billion.
Right. I'm not going to eat my dick, but I'm not voting for it. No. And the reason why I'm not going to vote for it, even for those reasons, is because I know people on her campaign. Joe Helpman is a piece of shit, and I will tell him to his face that he is a piece of shit. He told me directly in my face, to my face, that he got rid of the people like me in the party, and he's not going to let us back in. So fuck Joe Helpman, fuck Jo Jorgensen, and he also said in the same conversation that he would rather vote for Hillary Clinton than Adam Kokesh. So I think I've been very clear about how I came out of this shit show that Sarwark pissed all over for this past weekend. For those of you that suck on Nick Sarwark's cock, I hope you enjoy the acid-filled jism that he's going to spray into your fucking eye. And I hope you love Nick Jr. giving you seconds out of his asshole because he is no better than Rick fucking Santorum. He's a little bit frothy with some Nick dick. So there you go. That's my opinion.
Where has this been? Where has it been?
I've had to be nice. I shaved my head. I got a whole new fucking going on.
Holy shit. We talked for about 20 minutes before we came on. Mm-hmm. And you gave me no indication whatsoever that this is what I was going to be exposed to.
Yep.
Got a bunch of tears out of my eyes here. Man. So, I hear a little bit of an echo. I hear me echoing on the other end. I don't know if that's... I don't know if there's a way... But if you can't hear me, if you turn it down, don't worry about it. But, so... where to start? I was not prepared to. This is like going into. You ever see the movie Rounders with Matt Damon, they play poker. Well, it's not gonna help then. But anyway, I feel kind of like Mike Tyson say about some of his fights. Everybody's got a plan until you punch him in the nose. I don't know what to say. I will say this though. Hotep's been told you about Nick Sarwark. He just kind of, he went from someone who a lot of people were giving the benefit of the doubt, and who were, and there are still some. I mean, I still have a few that are, they're still Team Nick, and they are like making apologies for him, and that that he's been, he's trying to keep people safe and all this other bullshit. And I'm just like, no, look, I know bullshit when I see it. I know fake when I see it, and he is not an honest person.
No.
That's all I'll say. That's it. Like I don't have to have evidence to show where he lied or anything like that. You want evidence? Look at what he did when they asked about how much money the party would be on the hook for if we bailed on the convention in Orlando. He said we'd be on the hook for $105,000, and then stopped and moved on. Never mentioning the rest of the story, like lying by omission. And this is what he does. This is what he always does. He'll just omit certain truths and leave them out, or he will like hide behind something and dodge it, and he will make his statement leaving out something that completely changes the context and the meaning of what he's saying. Leave that out on purpose, just to be able to say, well, I didn't lie. Like, yeah, you did. You lied by leaving out the part that said, but if anything changes related to government regulations or anything like that, that COVID, the force majeure clause, it's and people are saying that's not force majeure, that's not, because it's not an act of God. Like, no, but what you don't understand is the way that they had, because I know Daniel Hayes, he's in the Louisiana delegation. He was the one with the contract trying to get it signed and all. He was telling us about how the LNC would send a contract, the hotel would send a contract, everything would be good with the contract, and then like I guess Nick would get like one of the lawyers or something like that to look, and they would object to something, and it was all like it was stuff that our lawyer, that the LNC's lawyers put in the contract. They would send it off, the hotel would sign off on it, it would come back, and they would say, we don't like that, and it was the thing that they put in. So there's all this like funny business and hijinks going on that is really, really discouraging and is really dishonest. And what he did was he left that stuff out, because the way that this is set up is we can go to Orlando, have the rest of the convention there, and if something happens, something changes related to, because the hotel has agreed to this and we have agreed to this. This isn't something where like you're going to fall back on law or anything like that. We have written a contract and agreed to terms together where if anything changes COVID related, the state of Florida clamps down more restrictions on travel or people from a certain state or anything like that. And there's a provision to allow for an adjustment to be made. Leaves all that stuff out. Well, anyway, so he rage quit the chairmanship of the convention, bailed on that, handed the gavel over to Alex Merced, who I must say, like I don't really do a whole lot of hype people up who are who I don't know that well personally, but I've watched for the last couple of years how Alex has handled himself, and the way he took what happened, because what Nick did was Nick just like shit in a bag and threw it on Alex's desk and said, "Here, take it."
No, he didn't shit in a bag. He shit in a bag and then ripped it as he threw the shit at Alex.
Right. And Alex handled himself with class, with patience. He was respectful. He was honest and open, and was very. Once he kind of got his bearings and kind of like got the butterflies from flying around his head, because it was like he had just gotten hit in the head with a 2x4, because it was just like, yes. By the way, I quit here. And I've had that happen to me. My first job in radio when I got out of college, I was just going to meet the people who worked at the radio station. I'd never been on the air there or anything like that. Walk up and they decide, oh, well, look, since you're starting your show in a few weeks, this guy wants to interview you and just kind of talk to you about, your new show. And, so they start talking to me. And while we're in this interview, he says, okay, I need you to take over. And it's a fishing competition. And I was not a fisherman. And he just handed me, I had to talk by myself. They just walked away and left me hold the microphone. And I'm just standing in this field where they're, next to the dock where they're bringing the boats in and bringing the fish in, and the leaderboard and everything is up there. And I'm mispronouncing fish names and all this shit. And I'm fumbling all over my words. So I know what it's like to have the mic just dropped in your lap. And it is not a fun situation. And it takes you a little bit to kind of get your legs under you and then start to develop a rhythm. So Nick is a piece of shit. I know people who like him and they love his family and all this other kind of stuff. That's cool. You can love his kids and you can love his family and all that good stuff. But he is a lying sack of shit. And I don't have a problem saying that because I don't trust him. I will say this right now. There's no way on earth, because I've seen the way this man moves for the last 2.5, 3 years. There is no way on earth we will ever be even the most distant of friends ever. Yeah. Because I would just be waiting for the moment he's going to stab me in the back, because that's what he's done to people. I've seen it happen. So I don't know Joe Houtman, so I don't know, but I'll take your word for it, I guess. I know you, and I know you're not like that's not generally your style to get that.
Remember that phase where you're like, whoa!
Yeah,
yeah, you just got that.
Yeah. So it was yeah. I have a little bit of a different feeling on the Jorgensen thing. Like I guess I'm looking at this from more of and I totally understand where you're coming from, and I don't disagree. There's a part of me that is just, fuck this whole circus, and I'm just gonna build my family and build my life and like pretend like this shit doesn't exist and try to make it not exist in my own little way. But I also think that there's a potential for a degree of like, Fabian libertarianism where, slow and steady wins the race, and you continue to chop away. And what I don't want to have happen is, say we get lucky and we actually are able to convince enough of the delegation to make Adam the nominee, and we have an opportunity to put dissolving the federal government on the ballot in every state. What I don't want is to have relinquished the opportunity to have that on the ballot by not. And I think I could probably get away with not voting and it would still be okay. But what I'll probably be more likely to do is to promote and to try to convince, when it comes to these conversations that you have with your normie friends and family, right? To have something to point to say, look, when I was at the convention, here's who we elected. And, maybe you should look into her and see what you think about some of these things. And then maybe if you have some questions about this, that, and the other, you can ask me about them. And then that gives you an opportunity to say, well, yeah, I don't agree with her here. I would actually go further than that. But here, and here, yeah, it would be great if she could pardon all the nonviolent criminals for drug possession and shit like that. That would be amazing. Be a huge step in the right direction for liberty.
Well, the thing is, you're right to a degree on two times. You're right, but
right twice. All right.
No. What I'm saying is two different things. One, she's never gonna. Nobody knows who the fuck she is. So she's never going to be anywhere near picking any of this shit or doing any of this stuff, because she is, I think Adam is absolutely right when he said that she is running on Gary Johnson's platform with half his fucking name recognition and like a tenth of his money. So she's never going to see 3%. She's only got, so that's never going to happen. But number two, I talked to two different people today about Joe Jorgensen. I take it back. I talked to two people today in the last 2 days. Yesterday, I talked to my neighbor, who I have a friendly relationship with my neighbor. We talk sometimes. I was working in my backyard. Like I said, we've got gardens. I was putting mulch around trees and the whole 9 yards. Right. And so she saw me and said, "So what have you been doing? I noticed that bus a while ago," talking about Adam being at my house. And I said, "Well, I've been really busy, got into the Libertarian Party and whatever." And I said, "I have to be honest with you, that I'm never going to vote for this person that they put in." I said, because I explained what voluntarism was to her.
Well, if you did.
Right. But she's like, "I'm an independent. I'm not quite as far down that road as you are." But I agree. Both these two people are turds. You're talking about Trump and Biden. Right. And I, of course, explained that you're partially right. They are turds, but they're turds rolled in pig vomit. Because they're way worse than just turd, but they are all shit on the inside. But what she's got like sprinkles on her, and so sprinkly pig rolled vomit, and she has sprinkles, shit on the inside, but she doesn't have pig vomit on her, and she's got sprinkles, so she looks kind of pretty because she talks about doing a bunch of stuff, but you're still going to get to some shit. And at least somebody has eaten pig vomit. A pig ate and then puked it up. Ain't nobody eating her. Obviously, because she's too stuffy. But bottom line is that she can be an option for people who still believe in the system. I don't believe in the system. And I think that if somebody can vote for her, certainly better than Trump or Biden. I will agree. Mm-hmm. I also talked to my mother-in-law today. She has been a Trump lover forever. Hates Adam with a passion. Like, she watched the 2008 Ron Paul thing that Adam did. Loved that. But then investigated him and was like, "Oh no, can't have none of that." So doesn't like Adam, and was like, "Trump-a-loo-ya," Yeah. But came over and was like, "This
2008, where he ran for the House and he gave that speech."
The speech he gave for Ron Paul, that like that where he talks about the enemies of the Constitution.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe that was before his House run, but it was like at Valley or something like that. He gave a speech.
It was after, but it was anyway. Long story short, she liked that, didn't like other things, but she was talking about how this COVID stuff has shown her that Trump's a piece of shit, and so she's not going to vote. And I said to her, I get it, but if you want to vote, and she knows, and I told her, I'm not voting for Joe Jorgensen. I'm not trying to convince you to vote for Joe Jorgensen. What I'm saying is there is another option. Right. You do not have to vote for one of these two.
And so, like, for me, so what about this? What about this angle? So, because for me, I'm more excited about Spike Cohen as the VP nominee, because he was Vermin's running mate, even though there's not really officially running mates in the LP until the delegates vote for both offices separately. But just from what I've seen and heard from him, reminds me a lot of Adam. It's a different personality and everything, but I think from a principled and an ability to communicate and an ability to get the message across and to like convert people, especially young people, and to create a wave of future freedom-loving people, libertarians, anarchists, voluntarists, whatever you want to call them. I think that's there. And so I'm thinking more along the lines of, here's who our nominees are. It's, I was Team Adam, and that's what I really wanted, but I'm, I don't hate, the top of the ticket, but I really, really like the bottom of the ticket a lot better. And here, so I'm actually thinking about it from the standpoint of look into Spike Cohen and, listen to him and, because
I actually have,
that sort of thing. And then for the more normie types, like, look, if you don't want two like misogynist, rapist, pedophile types, who are also like, full of all the other shit that they're full of, that here is a female who is actually like, she's actually kind of she's a quiet, more docile pit bull, but I think it would be interesting. I think she might actually handle herself well if she were to happen to get on a debate stage with those two.
The only way she gets on a debate stage with Donald Trump and Joe Biden is if she happens to be in the audience and trips onto the stage, because they ain't never letting her up there. That's never going to happen.
I'm with you.
And you have to get over 10%. I think it's actually 14, but you have to get over 10% of the populace in like 3 polls to get on there. So she ain't gonna ever see the stage, much less stand on it, because she can't do that. As for Spike Cohen, I agree. He really is the retarded cousin of Adam Kokesh. He is almost as good as Adam is on several things, and better than him on nothing. Like, if they wanted a Spike Cohen for which they evidently did, for their VP, if they wanted Spike Cohen, they could have had him in a few years, and his name is Adam Kokesh, and he ran for VP.
Right.
So I don't settle. Spike Cohen may be a wonderful person. He does seem to be, I might be able to vote for him if he was the presidential candidate, but everything that he is, Adam is better at. Every single thing. The only reason they chose him was to appease the vermin people. That is the only reason they did it, because they know that they can control him, and they cannot control Adam Kokesh. So that is the only, and I've already seen.
So I heard that, and I heard someone say the same thing that you just said, and I thought it was stupid bullshit, because like so you're saying that the delegates chose him to kind of, because
they were looking for a balance.
My impression was not that all right, so being with my delegation and seeing seeing Spike carry throughout the whole VP, because
for sure
Adam got more votes in the presidential ballot in my state than he did in the vice presidential, which I was kind of surprised, because I thought, okay, well, first of all, there are fewer candidates in the VP race than there were in the presidential race, and second of all, there were people there. I had people, when he got knocked out of the presidential race, I had people asking me about, hey, is he really serious about being VP, and would he actually like be VP and not be trying to be the president from the VP spot and all this stuff. So I'm like texting Adam and asking him questions and giving the answers back to the people that are asking and all this stuff. And then he comes back and he gets half as many votes in the VP race as he did in the presidential race, and he gets bounced first round in that one too. And So what I saw though was from my delegation anyway was not hey, let's throw the vermin people a bone, so much as the vermin people and then people like me who, once Adam was gone, I was like, no, there's not even a question.
Yeah.
I'm voting for Spike Cohen at this point. Like I however many ballots it took to get to him, I think like 2 or 3 or something like that. I was in that the whole way. So I was not trying to appease the vermin people, and none of the people who I was listening to, that wasn't their reasoning. Their reasoning was all about that they actually preferred him. They thought Mons was too similar to Jorgensen and was too quiet and just kind of like didn't seem like he would get so you have we do live in a world where this bullshit matters, but so you got a woman and then you'd have a black guy and you could do the whole like get coverage just based on that, and I don't know if that would have been better or worse.
It would have worked. They'd have hated on us just as much.
Yeah.
With the black guy, he'd have been not black, like
because of Biden. With
Biden.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, they'd have hated on us for sure. But what I think, this whole what I'm talking about didn't just happen this weekend. Mm-hmm. Why the fuck did the Hornberger people, endorse Spike Cohen? The reason was because there's such a divide between the Mises.
That's what happened. They endorsed him.
Yeah, long time ago.
Okay. So I missed that. Yeah.
And there's been this divide between the vermin people and the Mises caucus, usually over economics. And I think this was a way to kind of send out a olive branch to the vermin people, so that kind of squashed that. But none of that makes one single bit of sense when you have the choice of Adam Kokesh as VP on the fucking ballot.
Right.
Because they say, oh, he's got this experience challenging, disrupting and all. It's Adam Kokesh. We're not talking about, like, I don't know, Mons or Joe Jorgensen, who are very libertarian.
The thing too is that I felt like Adam would have been a much even so. Obviously he was my first choice as president, because he was the only one who didn't want to be my president.
Right.
He wanted to destroy the presidency, and I'm like, sweet, I get to vote to destroy the presidency. Hell, fucking yeah. Right. And so and destroy the Congress too.
Yes.
What? And the Supreme Court? What?
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here, all of y'all, go home.
Go home.
Get a job. Go home and get a job, and stop stealing money with your fucking investment accounts that are in an underground laboratory of like all your people who are on your staffs and all that bullshit. Anyway, so that was my number one choice. Then when he's not the option anymore in that race, I moved to, okay, well, how can we get him to be the VP? Because I concur with you 100%. I was glad that Larry Sharpe was dropping out, because I love Larry, don't get me wrong, but I watched him run in New York for governor, and I've watched him and the fact that he chose to align himself with Jim Gray, and I've seen him, a lot of his stuff is very much of a, we can do this better. I'm like, no, motherfucker, you can't. It should not be done. This is like, it's like I can rape this girl better than you can. It won't hurt her as bad. Stop raping people. Just stop fucking raping people. That's all you need to do is just stop. And so that stuff really rubbed me the wrong way. So I was happy that he was out of it. But not a fan of Armstrong. I like Mons, like in general. I don't think he ever really offered much from a here's what me winning this office looks like. I think there were a lot of people who were campaigning as though they knew this was just an educational opportunity. And I was like really proud to be working for one of the people who was not about that. Who was like, no, we're going to burn the motherfucker down. And
when it came to Bonds, I was like, this is if he gets the VP pick, this is the pillow that will slowly put you to sleep, because the two of these people are so goddamn boring that there is no way anybody's going to get excited and go vote for him.
Right.
So yeah, the thing is, where I'm at, because you're right about Larry. Larry absolutely disappointed the crap out of me. You know, there's a quote, and I'm going to probably butcher the quote, but it's by Aleister Crowley, who's a famous occultist. And Aleister Crowley said that he was for abolishing all laws that treat humans like cattle. And that is a libertarian statement. You know, the whole minarchist-anarchist divide within the Libertarian Party or whatever, if we can stop treating people like cattle, that'd be a really, really good start. And unfortunately, we didn't elect those people. We did not elect. The Libertarian Party did not elect people that are going to abolish anything. They are not going to.
What did you think about Hornberger with that? With his like, we're gonna abolish this, we're gonna abolish that, and
okay, I didn't like it, and the reason is because you don't say I'm gonna abolish it and then go home. You say I'm gonna abolish it by doing this, right, and this.
Yeah, no, so that was my thing too. And actually, one of the people, it's one of the Vermin guys in our group, Keith Thompson, who he's now pushing for the election of. I think it's Dulop Nelson. It's like a lizard that's running for chair. And so anyway, yeah, exactly. Right. It can't possibly be more of an asshole than Sarwark. That's what I said, like, look, at the very least, at least Alex Merced didn't insult anyone, during that whole stretch where he was dealing with a whole shitstorm. Anyway, what Keith said was, about the whole Hornberger, I'm going to abolish this. You can't just abolish Medicare and Medicaid and abolish Social Security without like paying the people back who you stole from to fund it in the first place.
Yep.
And that's why like Adam's idea of a bankruptcy process actually it actually makes sense. Like if you really think about it, it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to bring this stuff home. We're going to bring this equipment home, and we're going to, like, we can melt down tanks or melt, you know, there's all sorts of things. Or you could repurpose the tanks for the militias that want to purchase them to be able to have them. And there's all this. It's so funny to me, people who, like, I gotta like just kind of hold my tongue a little bit and forgive them for their ignorance, because I've been there too. But this idea that like, you can't have just regular people owning tanks, like, oh, so instead we can just have like the biggest assholes on the planet owning tanks.
Right.
Like, what the fuck is your, that's the worst logic ever. Like,
right. That is,
you don't want me to own a tank, but you're okay with Donald Trump having 700 of them, right, at the snap of a finger to go wherever the fuck he wants to send them.
At Anarcho-Poco in 2019, Larkin Rose addressed this really well. He said that minarchists make the least amount of sense of all the statists. And the reason that they make the least amount of sense is because they will tell you over and over again that they need a government to protect them. He said, what we need to do is break this down for them. So what they're saying is you need to hire a thug with a gun to protect you, and who's going to steal from you, possibly put you in a rape cage, maybe kill you. We need to hire them just in case there were a thug with a gun who might kill you, might throw you in a rape cage. It is the dumbest argument ever. these people need to understand that government is nothing more than a criminal gang. That is all it is. They are what Thomas Paine called the nobilities. They have no, and Spooner again covers this really well in No Treason. All these people are people that didn't know how to do anything back in the day. Carl's out, farming, he's out plowing his field. Well, Timmy down the road doesn't know how to plow, he doesn't know how to grow food, doesn't know how to do anything, so he takes a stick and goes up to Carl and smacks him in the head with his hammer, or he gets some buddies together and they go take his shit and then tell him a couple weeks later, you know what? If you don't want that to happen again, you can pay me so much food and I won't come and do that again.
Yeah, that's Godfather, same thing where it's,
right.
Hey man, there's a lot of crime in this neighborhood and we don't want anything to happen to you. So why don't you pay us? We'll be your security. Right. And like, no, I'm good. I can protect myself, and I got locks for my doors and everything. Come into your store the next morning, there's a brick through the window.
Right.
What's shit missing? And all your the stuff that isn't missing is broken on the floor. Same guys show up and they tell you, hey, do you have a chance to think about that security thing that we offered? By the way, the price is double now, and so that's kind of what it is. I mean, you saw this thing that happened to this guy George Floyd in Minneapolis.
Yeah, it's awful.
This is what they do.
So that the other people know.
Yeah. So there's man, and I don't know all the. I was driving a lot today and everything, and I got little snippets of it. I saw the video clip. That's all I've seen so far. I don't know what he was arrested for or anything like that, but there's a man on the side of the road. They've got him face down. I don't think he has a shirt on. He's face down on the pavement, and there's a cop kneeling on the back of his neck.
I think it's 7 minutes.
There were several people videoing the whole thing on their phones and everything like that. And I think there were 4 cops involved, and this cop never took his knee off this man's neck, and he died. They killed him. They killed this guy, murdered him over probably something as stupid as like he was walking in the wrong place, or he mouthed off to somebody, or maybe he had a joint. Who knows?
More likely, he was walking while black.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. And there was a white cop that was kneeling on him the whole time, and so then normally I'm not like a big fan of like doxing people and like bringing that kind of wrath onto them and everything, and I don't wish any ill on anybody's families or anything like that, and I very much support and believe in the axiom of non-aggression. But a situation like this, an eye for an eye doesn't sound too bad. Like, well, I think having that man's wife or whoever's the closest person next to him kneel on that cop's head until he feels like he's dead, and then just get off it. I like to at least feel, because I when you're watching that video, it's hard. Like, I felt helpless. I can't even imagine him. He's got his hands are behind his back, handcuffed. He's on the ground. He can't move, and you just hear him like groaning and stuff. It's just, people are sick and evil, and
I'll link that.
I don't know how you could live with yourself if you do that to someone.
Well, the thing is, you're right, and I agree with you. I do everything I can not to be aggressive. Everybody makes mistakes, but I agree that I support the non-aggression principle, all of that. And how Rothbard described a situation very similar to what you're talking about is that we're talking about justice. For one, a lot of what in a libertarian world, there would still be justice, and a lot of what Rothbard talked about, and he says this in Ethics of Liberty, he says a lot of it comes from John Locke. And through Locke, what you learn, and I'll get back to Rothbard in a minute, But through John Locke, what you learn is that in natural law, when you do something that breaks natural law, and by hurting somebody who hasn't done anything, you are breaking their natural right to live their life as they choose.
Right.
And when you break that, you forfeit that right yourself. It's why you can shoot somebody that breaks into your house, is because your life's possibly in danger, and so because they violated your natural rights, they have forfeited the right for you to be able to shoot them. And so
well, the right to be alive necessarily leads to the right to defend your life.
Right.
But in a situation like this where the life has already been taken.
Right. Rothbard gets into that.
I can see the argument for, not perpetuating a cycle of violence until everyone has taken their pound of flesh and killed someone, and there's nobody left anymore, or there's one person left. Because eventually,
he's the guy that's the biggest.
The Capulets and Montagues or something like that, where you keep murdering each other until there's nobody left in either family. I get that, but at some level, this cop, the other cops need to suffer some consequences for their complicity in this whole thing. But this cop, he deserves to never see the light of day again. And if he doesn't deserve to die a murderer's death, then he certainly deserves to have the same kind of shit that they did to Ross Ulbricht. He deserves that times 10.
Yeah.
Ross Ulbricht had a website, and he's in, what is it, like 3 life sentences plus 40 years, some bullshit.
Right.
And this motherfucker's probably going to get 5 years or something.
What Rothbard suggests is that this is, okay, for one, the guy's dead. So his being made whole, because in a libertarian justice setup, the goal isn't to punish, it is to make the victim whole. Right. And so that guy can't be made whole. There's nothing you can do. He's dead.
His family can't be made
whole. No, you're right. But what they can do is place in the position of being the ones that need to be made whole. So these are decisions they will make. And let's be clear, this guy he killed someone. He forfeited his life. His right to life is gone because he took the right to life away. So he can be killed. I'm not for the death penalty, but it's for different reasons. I'm not for the death penalty because there's so much possibility of doubt and those kinds of things. But in this particular case, we know this dude killed them. There's no question. He for sure did it. So he has forfeited his life. Now, I'm not saying go take him out and shoot him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the I don't know if it's a wife, kid. Huh?
I might be saying that. I don't know.
Right. Well, but the wife and kid get to look at this guy, and his choices are whatever the fuck they want. Right. If they want him to pay them $2,000 a month for the rest of his life, then that's what they choose. Now, me, I'd go a little higher, but whatever they choose. Now, maybe what they choose is that he gets put on an anthill where they eat all of his flesh off of him for about 6 weeks. I don't know. Maybe that's what they decide, because he has forfeited his life. And what they'll look at him is they can say, okay, listen, you can either sit on this anthill for 6 months and get eaten slowly, or we can go ahead and kill you now. You get to choose, but it is up to his family what happens, because they are the ones that have had something taken away from them. They need to be made whole. Now, you cannot put a price on life. And this is an awful thing. And the family should definitely take that into account when they're deciding what the hell this jackass does for them. My opinion is he's an employee of the, what was it, Minnesota?
Yeah, Minneapolis I think it was
Minneapolis, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They have a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
My opinion, in a libertarian world, there wouldn't be a
right. That would be privately owned, and that private company would be.
And now that company belongs to this family.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's what I would demand. If it were me, this company now belongs to me. Thank you very much. You have a nice day. Because next time, and that'll only happen once, because the next company down the road doesn't want their company taken over by somebody who got killed. So these cops that are going fucking ballistic are going to be stopped from doing that. So it's going to happen less. So anyway, that's what Rothbard says we should do about that.
Yeah, and you know they fired the 4 cops that were involved, and I mean that's great, but that's not going to bring the dude back. The thing that's the most disturbing about it is that this is what I always try to explain to people when the idea of, well, what will we do without these fuckers on the streets? We'll not have people kneeling on our necks for no fucking reason, with like. The reason why he's doing that is because he feels untouchable.
Yep.
He is on a power trip. He wants control. And it's not even about, like, think about by comparison. You've heard the way that, like, the classes that Maj teaches, and conflict resolution, de-escalation, those sorts of things. These guys are terrible at that. They are. I don't know if you saw some of the stuff, because this Ahmaud Arbery thing has been going on for a few weeks now, and they released some old footage of different arrests and stuff like that he'd had, or not arrests, but like different encounters with the police. And there's this one where he's literally, this is what's happened. So like, there's a park. He's sitting in his car, and he's written down lyrics on his notepad or whatever, and he's got like a little beat playing in the background, and he's just rapping, trying to like perfect his flow and get it going. And he's just sitting there minding his own business in a park, parked in his car off the road, and a cop comes up, pulls up, and starts harassing him. And if you watch the interaction, like it does not start. It starts out as, you're doing the sort of thing that bad people with drugs do, and that's the epicenter of this whole problem with the drug war, is that it starts these interactions like this. That's why I said I would not be surprised if this was a drug-related something or other in Minneapolis, because the epicenter of the problems with these interactions between police and otherwise harmless people is that it starts off with you're in a place looking the way that someone looks when they're going to do this bad thing that I don't like them doing, that has no impact on me. It's a transaction between two people, you know? Like, imagine you're just like sitting in your car outside the liquor store, and you're talking on the phone with your wife before you go in and get a bottle of wine to bring to the party that you're having later. And a cop says, "Get out of your car. This is what people look like they're doing when they're about to buy alcohol." And then next thing you know, you got your hands behind your back, and you know what I mean? It's so they show this video, and this cop just starts off right from the jump. It's not about de-escalation, and the guy's like, "What are you bothering me for? Why are you?" He's like, hold on. Why are you getting so jumpy? It's like, I'm getting jumpy because you're fucking harassing me.
Right.
If a regular dude just came up and started talking shit like that to you, you'd act the same way. And because you've got a uniform and guns and you're bowed up like you're going to fucking war, I'm even more nervous.
Yeah.
And you're not talking to me like you're trying to calm me down. You start trying to talk to me like you want to calm me down after you have like this thing on your body cam that I was jumpy. Like that. No, that's not. The reason I'm jumpy is because you came at me like I'm doing something wrong, and I'm not doing anything wrong, and you already are suspecting me, and you've got your hand on your gun while you're talking to me. It's just it's a whole culture that has been created where people who are afraid of not doing what they're told don't have a problem with it, because their idea is, well, if you don't have anything to hide, you shouldn't be worried about the NSA spying on you. If you don't have anything, if you're not doing anything wrong, that kind of stuff doesn't happen to you. And that's why there's this asshole Brandon Tatum. He's a Turning Point USA black conservative guy who like is always caping for like white people who kill black people, or like he even like went in on Botham Jean, that whole thing when Amber Geiger was on trial, and he was wondering where his dad was. Well, his dad was on the stand crying about how like they used to talk to each other on Sundays after he would go to church and he would cook and everything. And so this guy, anyway, so people like that, like he's a former cop, former black cop, which, you know, as NWA would tell you, like, man, the worst is a black cop with a white partner, because he's going to try to show out for the white partner, you know. And Brandon Tatum is one of those guys who's like, he's got his white conservative following that they love, because what he does is he gives them their little out. You know, he's like their black friend that they can prove they're not racist because they have him, and he loves to throw bail for these cops or white supremacists or whatever that kill black people, and that's what unfortunately happens too much with this stuff, where there's people who are willing to apologize for this stuff. And what he does, he always brings up, well, you know, have you ever noticed that there's always a criminal record in their past? It's like, dude, what the fuck does that have to do with the guy got killed by some dudes who chased him in a truck and shot him? Like, because he looked into somebody's house that didn't have walls. Like, man, you're trying really, really hard to defend some people who murdered somebody. And that's what, unfortunately, that's how people are with the state. They look at it like, well, maybe you shouldn't be in the wrong place at the wrong time, because that's when bad stuff happens. Yeah. Well, okay. Do you say that about a cop when a cop goes into somewhere where he should be like, you know, staying out of some other people's business? If a cop goes into one of those interactions and the cop gets shot, is he in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Right.
Of course not. You know, and I don't want people to die. I don't wish ill on anyone. I'm actually like, the thing that hurts me is like to watch these people who are getting murdered by these people, and these power hungry, power tripping either politicians or police or you know, military. When we send people over to these places and we train them to think that you know, there's a gook hiding behind every palmetto, you know, ready to murder them and everything's like, well, maybe you shouldn't fucking be there. You know, like, just fuck out their house, you know, and they won't try to kill you.
It's weird. You go bombing brown people start fucking disliking your ass. It's weird.
It's like one of the best, most compelling video, like, ads or whatever you want to call it, that I've ever seen was that Ron Paul video that they did, where it starts off in one voice, and it's this really deep, commanding voice, but it's all just like text on the screen, and it's everything. And it's like, what if there was an army, a Chinese army in Texas, and they were just fucking with you every time. You know, they had checkpoints and everything, and they asked you where you were going, and they were blowing up people's houses, stuff like that. What would you? And then it like starts to merge, and it's Ron Paul's speech that he's given. And it's just really like the way that they do it at first is it just sounds like this imaginary thing. And then when you think about it, I played it one time. It's funny because I sent it to somebody one time, and they like got mad. They're like, "That's ridiculous. You're saying this stuff about the Chinese and all this stuff." I'm like, dude, how far into this thing did you get? Like, did you finish the whole thing? Yeah. And do you think outside of like what
is there any logic going on?
Yeah. Do you think outside of what CNN tells you to think, or Fox News, or this is a Democrat, but anyway, so there's a and that's what I was excited about with once Adam was knocked out. I was excited about the second choice being that we could have Vermin make fun of everything.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like telling people we're going to have COVID-free zones and we're going to make COVID illegal. to point a glowing spotlight on the idiocy that we are presented with on a daily basis by politicians.
Well, early on, I thought that Adam, like Kokesh Supreme, would be the fucking most amazing ticket. I had dreams of like Adam with freedom behind them both, and like, you know how they do the campaign ads, have like Adam staring off this way with Vermin right beside him with the boot, and behind him is a freedom logo. I was daydreaming about that shit because because I would love to see that shit. That would be funny. Can you imagine the look on Mike Pence's face when fucking Vermin threw fucking rainbow glitter on his ass? That'd have been hilarious.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
yeah,
I have a hard time believing that the Libertarian Party is ever going to get there. And, and what showed me that was all of the rampant statism I saw this past weekend.
Yeah, the pragmatic. I mean, so I understand the short-sightedness. I'll say that. I don't understand why they're short-sighted. I understand that they are short-sighted.
Yeah.
The short-sightedness of the pragmatic folks who view this through the lens of converting Democrats and Republicans into libertarians, or vote, or who would possibly peel off and vote. What they're doing is they're taking. Let's see if I can pull this up. They're taking the voters who vote and reducing the pie of potential voters down to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you do that,
I know what you're going for.
I don't want to. I'd have to go dig to find it because I had to dig to find it last night. But I think it's been. I think it was around 1880 to 1900, somewhere in that range, is the last time that if none of the above was automatically cast if you did not go to the polls to vote. If an abstention counted as a none of the above vote,
yeah,
we would have vacated the presidency over a century ago.
Yeah.
Almost a century and a half ago, and we would have never filled it since.
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
That population, it used to be like 70-80% back in the day.
Yep.
Of course, the voting rights were very different, and who could vote and who couldn't vote was very different. So you kind of juiced the percentages. But since women have been able to vote, it has not been over, I think, maybe 65% of the. Maybe there was one election where there was like 71% or something like that, but I don't think so. I'll have to go back and look. But it's typically in the mid 50s to like the low to mid 60s percentage-wise of who votes of registered voters. So what you're doing is you're saying, okay, 25%, I think it was 27-27, Hillary and Trump. 27-27.
I mean, it's 54.
That's 54. Yeah. No, it's 54.
Yeah. Sorry.
If everybody else voted for somebody else, Adam, Vermin, whoever, you'd win an electoral landslide.
Right.
And instead, what we do is we try to put somebody like Jim Gray, who doesn't want to scare people, we put him in front of people, trying to explain to people how we need to be more like. Essentially, he's saying we need to be more like Trump and Biden.
Yep.
Because that's what people want. Like, no, they don't. If that's what they wanted, it would be like 80, 90, 95% of the voting population that would vote. But instead, about half of it's only the ones who are like really, really gung-ho, and the other ones who get convinced that if they don't do something, Trump's going to kill them or Hillary's going to kill them. And the reality is they're both going to kill you. And you aren't voting for the people who won't kill you.
Yeah. One of the things that we were talking that reminded me of, to be clear, I'm a voluntarist, but a lot of people would call me ANCAP or anarcho-capitalist. And this will be the second time I've used Emma Goldman, who was an anarcho-communist. So I disagree with her completely on economics. But one of the things that I liked that Emma Goldman said was she was 100. And to be clear, when I read this was shit, like probably 4 years ago, something like that. But anyway, she was opposed to women getting votes. She was completely against it, thought it was the stupidest thing in the world. And you know what her justification was? Do you really think women are going to do a better job than all these fucked up men for centuries have done? Hell no, that women are not. She was like, women are moody. She was like, this is a woman. She was like, women are moody. They care about what somebody looks like. She said, if women are handed the vote, we will, and this is the turn of the century. This is from like the early 1900s. She said, if women are allowed to vote, we will see the stupidity in politics grow exponentially.
Well, we've certainly
the crystal ball.
Yeah, we've certainly seen identity politics play a major role. That's why that's why we even talked about having a woman, and potentially if Mons was there, a black man. And we did get a woman and a Jew, so there's that. You had, and then we'd have had that if Adam had been there too. Adam and a Kokesh Cohen would have been a really interesting. We could have had the first ever Jewish president and vice president, but no, we've gotten to this point where, like you said, like the focus that is placed on how tall someone is, the faces that they make. They'll do all these little cut-ups now of like a debate where it's like, how many times? What was it? Al Gore sighing one that in 2000. It was like. And they did like a montage of him sighing, and then there's all these other things, all these different faces that people make, or with Trump and Hillary, it was all the how he treated her. But the thing is, like, that's just how he is. Like, he treats everybody like that. You're not special. It doesn't make him a sexist. He's just an asshole. So it's like she's an asshole too. At least Trump, as far as I know, doesn't have the body count behind him that she does. So I'll give him at least that.
Neither Chad nor I are or have been anytime recently, at the very least, suicidal. Just saying.
Not at all.
But.
And I drive very carefully when I'm driving.
So
I don't drive any rivers or lakes or cliffs.
Right. I want to dive into a little bit deeper the chair race that's on its way.
Yeah.
Okay. There are two leaders in this race, and I want to start with. We talked about Nick Sarwark and my love for him earlier, but and Chad's love for him earlier as well, but so this is one of my favorite things I've seen in this election cycle. We're going to call him Nickelodeon. And we have a choice between his successor, Nick Jr., also known as Joe Bishop Henchman, because I think he is that.
I think the part after the hyphen in his last name is the perfect name for him.
Oh, yeah. I've compared it. I can't remember the guy in Dracula that it works for. I just remember Igor. But it's like we have Dracula, which is Nick Sarwark, and Igor coming in behind him. Yes, master. And then we've got Josh Smith, and then there's Mike Shipley and Jacob Lamont, who has entered the race. And for complete to be completely clear and just to be completely clear,
transparent or translucent.
Yeah. I am friends with both Josh And I also do not represent, and nothing I said should be construed from these people. but but
No, I like Josh too, and I like Jacob too.
yeah.
But I have a different. Go ahead. I'll let you finish your thing because I have a different
Okay.
take.
Okay. So I like Jacob, and I think that Jacob would, in my, and I talked to Jacob today. I talked to him a couple hours ago. Talked to him today. I think that Jacob would be a far superior, okay, maybe not far, would be a superior candidate to Josh. I really do believe that. And the reason is because Josh has some baggage that Jacob doesn't have. And Josh has made quite a few enemies in the Libertarian Party, and Jacob hasn't done that.
Yeah.
So I think that Jacob would make a better candidate than Josh would. The problem is Joe Bishop Henchman is a piece of shit. And I don't, if the Libertarian Party wants to do anything in the future, it cannot have their leader being Nick Jr., because Nick Jr. isn't as good at the things Nick is good at. So, so we have to have somebody in there that that is opposing Nick Jr. And Josh has been doing this for a long goddamn time. Now, and every bit of this I told to Jacob earlier today, that yes, if he wants help from me, I have already sent him. I have a libertarian list and a mainstream media list. He already has both those lists. I sent them to him. I have a delegate list that I somehow got a hold of. I sent him that. Here you go. Have that. Because I don't have any NDAs to keep that shit hidden. Now, there's some NDAs I have signed that I didn't send him some shit, but that's different. These are things I've made, things that I've had access to that I didn't sign any kind of NDA over. And so I sent those to Jacob immediately. Said, here you go. So I'll help him. I'll do what I can because I really do believe. But at the end of the day, Josh is the only one with any significant pull to attack Joe Bishop Henchman. That is my opinion. And I still don't think Josh is going to win. I am scared to death, and I actually think this is what's going to happen, that Joe Bishop Henchman will get it on the first ballot. I think he's got it. Because there's not a significant pragmatic opposition, and the Prags control the party.
Allow me to submit my
awesome
candidate. I hereby nominate Alex Merced to. I just have to. I asked him already. I haven't heard back from him to see if he would consider it, but I want him to run for chair. I think that what he did on Sunday, there were a lot of people who were really, really impressed with how he, again, with class and really like from the standpoint of like the protocol and like handling things well. Now, I mean, he did have to consult the parliamentarian, a good bit, probably more than Nick usually does. But Nick's been chairing this thing for what, 6 years or something like that. So I cut the dude a little bit of slack because he got the mic dropped in his lap in 2 seconds, and in a shit show that was in the middle of it was like a shit show in the middle of a clusterfuck in the middle of a shit storm. And he took that and he handled it with class. He handled it, in my opinion, with skill and with like integrity, calm, patience. And to me, like, I really, really hope we've got a little bit of time. I really, really hope he would throw his hat in the ring, because I think that could be the pragmatic, the way to dig into it, because I don't know how many people are just looking at JBH as just the no-brainer choice because either they hate Josh or they don't know Jacob well enough to want to really push, or they're not, Shipley is, I mean, I like Shipley. I mean, he's a decent enough guy. He can get a little hot under the collar and ruffle feathers more than he needs to. But no, I just I think that Alex could actually. I think I don't know if he would win on one ballot, but I think he could definitely. He could give the damn thing a run for its money, and I would love to. Back to the thing about not voting for Masters or kind of having this ideal and like I'm not going to vote for anything short of that ideal. I would love to give us the opportunity to try for what I think would be the best chair we could have under the circumstances. And best chair we would have had in the last 6 to 8 years. I don't know. I wasn't here when prior to Nick, but I just it's night and day. Like I could see myself being like long-term best friends with somebody like Alex because he's just a really cool, nice dude, and he's also really smart. Like I don't know if you saw, but he already like started putting some software together for like the question, like for privileged motions and like the waiting line and like to make it look like the way that the convention lines should look instead of just this one little Q&A thing. He like he's already like trying to build solutions for how we can do some of this online shit better. And so like from that standpoint, from like an execution and class standpoint, I would love to, and I mentioned it in a couple of places on Facebook, and I asked Alex directly, and I hope that he would throw his hat in the ring. I know he's probably got some, because I know he and Josh ran kind of together in 18, and he's got some big time Mises backing, and it might not be prudent for him to challenge Josh in that regard, but damn if I wouldn't love to see it.
Yeah, I agree with you that Alex would be far better. I agree. I don't think it's going to happen, and I still, because this past weekend I lost all faith. I was already losing faith in the Libertarian Party anyway, but I lost all faith in these people this past week. I'm just done. And now that doesn't mean I'm an asshole, and that doesn't mean I'm gone.
There were some people who I gained some respect for this weekend, and who I gained some faith in. But I understand what you're saying. Like on the whole, to see, like I'm at a loss to try to figure out what the fuck some of these people were thinking.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it, and I don't have any proof, and I'm not going to try to throw out any allegations, but it would be stupid to believe that there's not some agent, some like COINTELPRO type people in the Libertarian Party. I think that would be stupid, at least working for the Republicans and Democrats. And I would be willing to bet that the number would stagger us. I'm saying 100 people that are delegates is probably a low number.
Yeah, I could see that.
And
it's not that hard to get in. It's not that hard to do. And I know because I've been on the other side of this, doing it to try to so like there's this concept that like so you got like gatekeepers and stuff, and like gatekeepers are usually like the stay the fuck out. You don't get to come in. You don't get to come in.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those gatekeepers that's like, I got my foot in the door. You can come on in. Cool. You're cool. Because I want people to be free, and I want people to be able to control more of their destiny than they do now. So I saw this with the Ron Paul campaign in 2012, where we basically like hijacked the caucus structure all over the country, but especially like I saw it firsthand. My firsthand experience is here in Louisiana, and we showed up, and people were like, "What are these people doing here? How did these people find out when and where this was?" And like, "Yeah, motherfucker, I know y'all's game. We're here. Get ready, bitch." It was that kind of situation. But so I've been on the other side of that, where you it's not hard. All you have to do is act like you agree with people,
right?
And you don't, and like especially if you've kind of been in like close to that camp or something, like you let's say you have, because we all know these people. They're like, yeah, I like I like libertarian stuff, but there's some of this stuff that you can't not have a military, you can't not have police, you can't not have
roads,
right? And who's gonna make the road? Yeah, exactly. So it's not that hard to figure out how to be like, oh yeah, I've been in some arguments with these people before. I know the things that they hold dear, and I know how to but I also know how to say some things that sound pragmatic, like, let's not scare people. We'll audit this and we'll look at this and we'll let the people see and we'll decide if they want to keep it or not. Like, what? Like, no, fuck the shit. Like, I don't care if people want to keep the NSA. It needs to get the fuck dead.
Right.
So anyway, it's I don't think, because I've seen how I met Adam in October of 2017. I became a libertarian in voter registration before the end of that year.
Yeah.
I was a member of the party and all that stuff, dues paying member and everything by the end of that year. By 2018 summer, I'm in the national convention as a delegate in California.
Yep.
Because the convention's in New Orleans, and it was really hard to get a Louisiana delegate seat because it was really easy to get people to say, yeah, I can drive down the road. Austin was still easier than some other places would have been, and I became a delegate from Louisiana, and I'm hardly ever at any of our meetings or anything like that because I've traveled so much, and I've seen it's not that hard. Hell, I spent 3 days with these people this weekend. A few of them I had never met before because they're from other parts of the state. But we were on this Zoom call this whole weekend, and we had a Facebook Messenger chat. We had the Zoom call. We had all this stuff, and I don't doubt that if I tried hard enough and showed up to enough things and really put some effort into it, I don't doubt that I could be the vice chair or the chair of the state party if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want to or have time for that or want to, I'm willing to help and do as much as I can, because one of the things I want to do is I want to continue to help promote the things, because there's some good people I've met, some really nice, friendly, and well-meaning, good libertarian people who I've met, who were really, they were on the fence between Vernon and Adam and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, we can get down then. But if I was a Republican or a Democrat who wanted to infiltrate,
yeah,
you know how easy it is.
Yeah, I get it. I have a different story than you have, and I've already went into how shitty these people treated me, because I'm an anarchist and came in like this. So I get it. But even with that, okay. Now, part of this is because I was, a media guy, and they needed a media guy. I get it.
Right.
But I got sat down with, now this isn't the leaders of the party. This is the leaders of the thoughts of the party. These are the people that are guiding the party, like Mark Rutherford, who's a fantastic human being, minarchist, fantastic human being.
Yeah.
But I'm in the room with this group of people a few months ago. It's maybe 3 months ago, because we're having a campaign meeting because I signed up to run media for Don Rainwater, who's running for governor. Right. And so I got myself, being all anarchy, I got myself into the room with the thought people. And at the end of the day, we're all talking about strategy and this and that and the other thing. They're looking at me for philosophical guidance.
My man.
I'm like, well, that's Rothbard.
You're just getting your traction, man.
Right. Well, so I get that whole thing. I agree with you. There are some wonderful people in the Libertarian Party. Many of I would have never met you had it not been for your involvement with Adam. And I wouldn't have been involved with Adam if it weren't for the Libertarian Party. So I get it. All of that makes sense. But the vast majority of these people are not liberty-minded. They are not. They are authoritarians. I cannot count the amount of times.
It's disturbing to see the way that some of the party politics moves, relative,
right?
Because it comes off as really, really like, slap you in the back of the head with a dick kind of politics, and it's like, man, I thought we were. That's one of the things that, and I actually got some kudos in my state delegation for this. They're like, yeah, the same thing happened to me. I was like, man, like I met Adam and I was all excited. I was like, oh, this is great. There's like a whole party of people who are like me. Like, this is going to be great. We're going to go conquer the world together. I can't wait to go fight with these people. And then I get there and I'm like, wait, y'all all hate each other? What the fuck? Like, how did this happen? How does everybody hate each other? Like, you have these factions and they're like bringing up, they're like dragging up, they're like doxing people and trying to like throw all kinds of like horrible allegations against them and everything. And it's just like, man, I don't know what in the world I stepped into, but this seems worse than the shit I see on TV in the Republican and Democrat parties. I think they cover up their shit way better.
and that's just it. If the Libertarian Party were so much better at politics than Democrats and Republicans, then I could buy the pragmatic idea that let's just do this because we're so much better at it. This weekend, if you didn't figure out that they're really, really, really bad at this, you weren't paying attention because they're really bad at this. They need to not try to be politicians. They need to be libertarians. They need to go back to David Nolan. They need to go back to Rothbard. Hell, I'd be happy with Ayn Rand right now.
I'm with you, man. It's really so it was weird because I was like, I guess on a personal, like, our team, although there are a few little things that I have my disagreements with and I was a little disappointed in. But overall, I love our team. And I really told my state delegation, I was like, I'm really like, it's not just that like I was actually happy with the ticket from the standpoint of comparatively, like Gary Johnson and Bill Weld versus this ticket, give me this ticket. If that's my only choices, I don't like, false dichotomies, but it's less of a false dichotomy than most of the ones that were offered because I did not want to vote for that ticket in 2016. And I'm at least like interested in entertaining the notion of voting for this ticket this time around because I don't think we're going to have one of our candidates go apologize or personally vouch for Hillary Clinton on MSNBC.
Sure, an improvement for sure.
So it's an improvement, and it's an improvement over several tickets past. Bob Barr, horrible. Gary Johnson and Judge Gray, horrible. Now that I know what I know about Judge Gray, and I'm a little disappointed in someone else who I won't mention his name, who told us all sorts of good things about him and Joseph Bishop Henchman, and that sort of stuff. But anyway, and then you go to Johnson Weld, and I'm like, man, God, are we trying to just look like Republicans? Like we just seriously, like Bob Barr, Republican, Gary Johnson, Republican, libertarian leaning, but Republican. Bill Weld, Republican. Judge Jim Gray, allegedly libertarian. He tells you 100 times a minute that he has libertarian in his podcast name. Like, see how we put libertarian in there? I'm like, that's good. Here, good job, little Tommy. Go eat your cookie in the corner. Don't put too many boogers in it. It sounded like a fucking child. Like, look, Daddy, I wrote your name, like Dady. Like, like, fuck, man, come on, dude. Yeah, but so like this ticket, I can get behind this ticket. From I'm more excited about this ticket than like my first objective after getting Adam elected president was make sure Jim Gray did not get nominated as president. And then my next thing was like get Adam to be VP. Okay, it's not going to be Adam. Well, then my next objective is to not let Ken Armstrong be the VP. Nice guy, but no, I did not want. That was just going to be. Although it would have been interesting to see him tower over Mike Pence and like bellow at him. If he ever had an opportunity to be on the same stage.
Up at him with the same kind of look that he looks at Trump, like, please put your dick in my mouth.
Right. But no, so I'm a little more. But so from a overall party perspective, I was kind of disappointed in the way that the convention stuff went down, and the chair just like he proved to me. I was so silver lining. I was beyond pleased to see that ass fuck finally expose himself as the piece of shit that he is.
Which ass fuck? Oh, Sarwark?
Yeah. I was very pleased because there were tons of people who were like, I used to be a big Nick fan. I've defended him. I've always been big, but I cannot believe he did what he did. And that was classless and dishonest and and I was like, yeah. Could have fucking told you. That's why, like, I went after this person who's been, apologizing for Nick in our little personal chat or whatever for a while. I was like, yeah, we've been saying this for 3 years that he's a lying piece of shit, and you've been defending him. And to this whole thing, I'm not saying the man's an agent or anything like that, but I have not suspended my disbelief in him as a non-agent because the argument was like, oh, his parents were huge libertarians, helped found the party, and they used to bring him to meetings. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. That's exactly like, do you know how many people rebel against what their parents did because they hated their parents for doing it? And then that's the one that you just like, you can be like, hey, so here's the thing. You can keep messing around. Why are you standing there? You can keep messing around with this stuff, but you're going to my son is playing music in my ear. But anyway, you can very easily turn somebody like that. All you have to do is give them the motivation to money or whatever else
or threaten their family
or threats or something. Yeah, I mean it's and I'm not saying I'm still not suicidal. I don't want anyone to come after me, and I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying that the argument that like his parents used to bring him to meetings, and his parents have been huge libertarians their whole lives, and he's been a libertarian since birth, or whatever, is a horseshit argument to me, because I have seen people turn on their parents for stuff like that. I've seen people do the exact opposite. It's like saying Mary Madeline or whatever her name is couldn't possibly be a Republican because she's married to James Carville.
Right.
It's like, actually, I don't know how they're married, but like they hate each other on politics, but somehow they've been married for like 40 years.
His dick's this big, dude.
Okay, I guess.
His dick is this big. Gotta be.
But
that's an ugly dude. His dick's gotta be this big.
But like those things are like the worst alibis possible. Like, oh no, his dad loved this. Like, yeah, okay. There's some music that my kids hate that I used to love growing up. That doesn't mean a damn thing. Like I've seen kids like their dad pushed them play. Their dad was a college athlete, and so he pushed them to play that sport from the age 3 or whatever. And by the time they're 12, they quit sports altogether because they hate their dad for making them do all the training and everything.
Well,
So.
Okay, now take this just to give it to bolster your argument. I'm going to take my own family, my own son. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Raven, my oldest son. Great guy. He's a libertarian, so I'm going to take it outside of politics because he and I actually agree on a bunch of shit when it comes to politics. But that's about it. This this dude, like, I have no idea beyond he loves to work on cars. He loves to work with his hands. He was really good at football. These are all things I don't give a flying fuck about. like at all. I mean, you've been on the text when people are talking about sports and I make fun of it. It's because I don't care. I do not care. Don't get me wrong. I love that you find passion in sports. That's fantastic. I don't. Raven does. I do not. So I raised this boy. And not only did I raise this boy, his mom left his life when he was 5. So I raised this kid by myself until he was like 12. And he and I, yes, we get along great. There's 2 things we enjoy together. He likes politics, likes talking about politics, and goddamn, he can get some of the best weed that I have ever seen. That dude can smoke up a freight train. But that is it. That is the only things that we really have in common. And now I love him, and
he doesn't hate you. And so the thing is, like, what we don't know is, like, I don't know how, like, that relationship is. Like, what if Nick hates his parents? Right. What if he's like, or resents them or something? And it's just like, you know what? Like, I'm okay. I won't destroy the party while you're still alive or whatever. I mean, I don't know if they're alive or not. I'm positing the theory of, like, how you telling me he used to go to meetings with his parents is a bullshit argument to me. I don't even care, because, like, it'd be very easy for me to, we're all Catholic in my family, and I have a brother who, like, he left the church and he's done his own thing, and his wife saying they're happy with where they are and everything, right. And my mom has, like, hinted and stuff about, like, trying to, like, get his wife to switch back or to help him switch back and for them to become Catholic and all that stuff. And she has said in no uncertain terms, hell will freeze over before she does that. Yeah, and my brother is like, this is my wife. This is where we are, and it's not going to change, So there's stuff like that deeply held beliefs by your parents that you were raised with, that you even held until your 20s, that then you turn on your parent. And he doesn't, my brother doesn't hate my mom and dad or anything like that. They love him. And, they babysit his kids all the time and all this kind of stuff. And they do stuff together all the time. They love each other. But that's just not going to happen. And it wouldn't surprise me, like, if this is, now, I'm not saying my brother has gone so far off the rails relative to that issue that he would, like, willfully try to, like, overthrow the church or something like that. But, like, if there were a way for him to be compromised, because we're talking about something that is very, very fragile, the Libertarian Party, very fragile, because what we talked about, like, there are, what would you say, 350 to 500 maybe delegates who are, like, consistently, like, showing up at every convention and active all the time, and then the other half, maybe more than half, maybe a little less than half, I don't know, somewhere around half, are the turnover based on where's the convention going to be this year, how far away is it, what do I have going on, I'm getting married that weekend, or I don't know, whatever the hell, they probably wouldn't schedule, but anyway, you know what I'm saying, like, it's There's a reason why I'm a delegate and you're a delegate, and we weren't a delegate in 2016.
Yeah.
You know, it's because there were openings. You know, so and there's always openings. We keep getting new people to come in. Then there's continually openings. So from that standpoint, it's so incredibly fragile because this is not the Republicans and Democrats where they have these hundreds of billions of dollars, budgets and this massive infrastructure and the media conglomerates behind them to help promote their propaganda. We have to kind of generate all that stuff on our own, and it's almost all done where we are footing the bill. We're not getting paid to do this stuff.
You're right, and we're out money most of the time.
So you could easily pay a few people. This is the equivalent of trying to rig a high school basketball game. The kids aren't getting paid to play. But man, could you imagine if you gave a couple of kids $10,000 a piece? You might be able to influence the outcome of that game.
But yeah, exactly. And put that into perspective with Nick Sarwark.
What if you did the referees?
Right, exactly. But put that in perspective with Nick Sarwark. If he wasn't controlled before, which I actually think that he was, but if he wasn't, he came to the Libertarian Party and said, I want $75 an hour to do this.
Right.
And the Libertarian Party said no. So one, he's pissed. Two, what do you think would happen? He's asked for 75. Do you think he's so, like pure and what have you? What do you think would happen if the U.S. government said, you know what, Nick, we won't give you $75 an hour, but we will give you $100,000 if you do this, 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 and this.
Right.
So
one of those things is spend the last 3 months on a Twitter storm about coronavirus.
Right.
To your point. And it's funny. I went back and looked. So he has this thread that he did. It was like on March 18th. He started it, and one of the things I screenshotted it because I imagine if I were him, I'd want to delete that shit. Because one of the things he says. So he starts off, on the right track, about the president shutting up and stop, talking shit out of his ass about this stuff because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But he says you should listen to Dr. Fauci. I'm like, oh, okay, big guy.
Right.
This is the chair of the Libertarian Party who is telling you to listen to the state-appointed authority on, it's like, wow. And then you go look at who this guy is tied to, where he's getting money from, who he's worked with, who he's still working with, all the things that he said in the past, and it's scary, like how it's almost and so that's his advice that he's given to people about don't spread bullshit, listen to the experts like Dr. Fauci, and I'm like, you're a fucking dumbass, because you are basically saying this is the equivalent of WMDs and don't listen to George Bush because he's a dumbass. Listen to Colin Powell.
Right. You're absolutely right.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's like, I put something together. I was like, yeah, the truth about this whole coronavirus shit is buried somewhere next to the WMDs. The truth about the USS Liberty, the torpedo that sank the Lusitania, the hockey stick graph for global warming. It's like,
yeah, this is all bullshit. And man, I'll tell you what, the fact that he is making those kinds of arguments just shows how fucking statist and embedded into the appeal to authority that piece of shit is.
Oh yeah, right, and that fallacy, yeah, because it's he's constantly retweeting other people, in their research, their scary research and everything, and it's like
But think, Chad, add to that the appeal to authority. What this asshole's done for 3 years, I know because I've been challenging him on it, is he has appealed to authority. We need Tulsi Gabbard she's a congresswoman and she'd be great for the party, and she's against war every third Tuesday. She is against war every third Tuesday, and so he pushes her.
Socialist and
right.
You know.
And then appeal to authority. Well, we should have Justin Amash.
Maybe we should have Justin Amash and Tulsi Gabbard.
Right. Then, a balanced ticket.
Then we'll appeal to the Republicans who hate Tulsi Gabbard and the Democrats who hate Justin Amash. Or the Republicans who hate Justin Amash and the Democrats who hate Tulsi Gabbard. Or all of them. Like, what? This is the shit that y'all come up with? Like, do y'all like really think tank this shit? Like, that's why, like, and I don't know. I mean, I know some of this stuff's anecdotal, and I've been to some of the events that Adam does, and, you know, like 3 people show up. I was one of the 3 people that showed up at the thing in New Orleans, and that's why I'm here. You know, and that's how I met you, was by becoming part of the team after meeting him there. So I realized that it's not like he's driving around and people are chasing the bus like he's fucking Elvis or something, right, and tackling him to say, please win the presidency. Because if that were the case, we'd just like run away with it and there would be no more federal government like in 6 months. But there's certainly a sentiment that I sense from people who don't vote, who feel disenfranchised by the whole process, disenfranchised by the Republicans and Democrats, who would, I think, most definitely come out and vote for this. And then the thing is, and this is what I like about the way that he's kind of approached this, and I wish there were a way to have ballot access without having to go through the LP, to just be able to Ross Perot our way into, or Donald Trump our way onto the stage. If he got 4% this year and then ran again and got 10%, as soon as you cross like a threshold of enough voters, enough of a percentage to where people would see, wait a second, like, if I just went over, like, I could actually help get that number up to where it's competitive with the other, like, the snowball starts to build, and it becomes really really powerful. But you know, we are stuck in the LP where, unfortunately, they want to be, like Gary Johnson said, we're a little bit like the Republicans and a little bit like the Democrats. We're kind of in the middle, like.
Yeah. I know. Well, Chad, I'll tell you what, this has been a good episode. I think this is probably a good place to kind of leave this.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm going to be a thorn in the side of the Libertarian Party going forward. But when they don't nominate a voluntarist anywhere, because I get that Spike's a good dude. He's not Adam Kokesh. And he's certainly not Vermin, and he's certainly not Dan Berman, and I gotta say, Arvin Vohra has impressed me for the last few months. And there's things that Arvin said that I disagree with, and it's one of the many reasons why he isn't, like, I don't include him a lot, but I like the dude, especially lately, largely because he has just stood on that. But I'm not going to vote Libertarian. And part of that really is I've watched the Bernie bros go, oh, okay, I'm going to vote for Biden. I'm not that guy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
You know, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
And to me, if the Libertarians want...
What if we get a bunch of people to write Adam in?
Yeah. We couldn't get 100 people to write Adam's name down on the goddamn.
Yeah, I'm serious. 100 people. I'm down. I'm down to try to get 100 people. At least that way I can be like, yeah, because I've written myself in before. Doesn't carry the same momentum as
Right.
one more vote for me would. But
well, if I go in and vote, because there's a chance that I may go in and vote, because I'm running for coroner. So it'd be fun to vote for myself. And Don would be a good goddamn governor. He would be good at doing that. And he and I have had the conversation that if Adam wins, that means you're in charge.
Yeah.
And he'd be good at it. And the next time around, I'd challenge him and dissolve Indiana. And I told him so. But
yeah. But see, that's the thing. That's what people don't understand, is that's the logical next step. It's one of those. It's like one of those like controlled explosions, a controlled demolition, where it just kind of goes, and it just it works its way out until it like just kind of caves in on itself, and you don't have the things that people were afraid of. We're like, well, then you're going to have these state governors as tyrants. It's like, you really think that if enough people vote to dissolve the federal government, they're just going to be like, yeah, that was good enough. I'm totally cool with you just fucking me over for the rest of my life, state that I live in.
Get Hitler in there, guys.
Right.
We don't need a federal government. We got to have this here Nazi government.
To dissolve the federal government are going to be voting to dissolve their state governments right after that.
Yep. A lot. Or at least making a government that makes sense to the area.
Right.
Yep. And so yeah.
I'll let you.
But am I discouraged? Am I angry at the Libertarian Party? You bet your ass I am.
Yeah.
I am disappointed. I am angry. And I am in. Is there an element of I'm going to punish you? Yes, there is. They will not get my vote. And they will not get my vote until they put somebody. It does not have to be Adam. This is not a cult of personality. And I was more than willing to give. I was more than willing. I was willing to vote for Vermin. I was willing to vote for Dan Berman. I would have voted for Arvin. They could have gotten me with a bunch of people. If somebody came out, like Mons had toyed with the idea of a slower process of localization.
Right.
He might have been able to get me. But outright statism, I'm an anarchist.
Yeah.
And I'm voting as a libertarian so that I can try to give another option to absolute collapse. When we talk about what people don't get is when I say, if we don't, this gives us a peaceful alternative. I'm not talking about getting guns and having the boogaloo and all that bullshit. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this shit is going to fall apart in my lifetime. It's coming down. And I want to see a smooth transition.
Right.
So.
Yeah, because it's going to go one of two ways. Either it's going to be a bankruptcy process where we get our shit back, or it's going to be a bankruptcy process where China and whoever else gets all our shit. And then that's who's ruling over us.
Yeah, and the people don't get that we are on a decline. Our country is not getting more powerful. And this last 6 months has really hurt us.
Yep.
And all it's going to take is somebody to get it crashed.
Mm-hmm.
And we're fucked.
Yeah.
So on that positive note, it has been fun doing this with you again, Chad, and I really enjoy our communications. I think the next time we get together, which hopefully will be next week, but timing sometimes screws with us, but I really want to discuss with you where we go. What does Aquarian Anarchy's future look like?
Okay.
and be thinking of that, like things you'd like to have us do. How can we? Because I have no, this isn't Coca-Cola, but I have built a bit of a brand, and I think we have a good brand, and I think that we can take that brand and start moving it into something else. And I don't know what that is, but I think that'd be a good topic for the next one.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll think of that. I got a week to ponder on that. So yeah, I'll definitely put some thoughts to that, because I think there's definitely a way to one of the things that we can, well, we'll say that for when we start talking about it. But yeah, there's plenty of things that we can do to promote the ideas without necessarily having to go the route of political action that we've been doing that has failed miserably.
Right. Right. I'd like to succeed once in a while, so let's stop doing the LP thing for a while.
Like that, I felt one of the best things was the book bomb was great. That was a blast to be able to do that, and even if it only meant that like 150 actually read that book cover to cover and like absorbed and like appreciated it, that's good enough for me. Like that's 150 more people who are on the team now. So
yeah, and I that is exactly what I'd like to see Adam do in the future. So thank you very much, and thanks to the people that have made it to the end of this video. It's been almost 2 hours, so that's a beautiful thing. But again, thanks. Like, share,
listening to us talk shit about you.
Right. And next week, Nick Sarwark's gonna show up and be like, so you said some stuff, and I'm gonna say, fuck off, Nick. All right. Fuck off, Nick. Go get yourself blown by Nick Jr. Let Joe Bishop Henchman fuck in the ass for about 10 minutes and then come back to me.
So. Starting and finishing with class, as always, Marcus.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to go ahead and shut this off. And thanks, everybody, for checking us out.
Peace.